Good morning, Faith Bible family, and welcome to week 20 of our Psalms on the Porch series. Today we're looking at a very unfamiliar psalm with a very familiar half of a verse in it. Most of us know the second half of Psalm chapter 50, verse 10. God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. But most of the time when I've heard that saying, it's in the context of God's provision. Something like, we don't have to worry about the necessities of life because God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and can supply our needs. Now, you can make that point from other places in Scripture, but that isn't the point of this psalm. So let's read Psalm 50 together to see the real point that Asaph is trying to make.
The God of gods, its God, speaks out, shouts, earth, welcomes the sun in the east, farewells the disappearing sun in the west. From the dazzle of Zion, God blazes into view. Our God makes his entrance, is not shy in his coming. Starbursts of fireworks precede him. He summons heaven and earth as a jury, taking up his people to court. Round up my saints who swore on the Bible their loyalty to me. The whole cosmos attests to the fairness of this court, that here God is judge. Are you listening, dear people? I'm getting ready to speak. Israel, I'm about to bring you to trial. This is God, your God, speaking to you. I don't find fault with your acts of worship, the frequent burnt sacrifices you offer. But why should I want your blue ribbon bull, or more and more goats from your herds? Every creature in the forest is mine, the wild animals on all the mountains. I know every mountain bird by name, the scampering field mice are my friends. If I get hungry, do you think I'd call you? All creation and its bounty are mine. Do you think I feast on venison, or drink draughts of goat's blood? Spread for me a banquet of praise. Serve high God a feast of kept promises, and call for help when you're in trouble. I'll help you and you'll honor me. Next, God calls up the wicked. What are you up to, quoting my laws, talking like we're good friends? You never answer the door when I call, you treat my words like garbage. If you find a thief, you make him your buddy. Adulterers are your friends of choice. Your mouth drools filth, lying is a serious art form with you. You stab your own brother in the back, rip off your little sister. I kept a quiet patience while you did these things. You thought I went along with your game. I'm calling you on the carpet now, laying your wickedness out in plain sight. Time's up for playing fast and loose with me. I'm ready to pass sentence, and there's no help in sight. It's the praising life that honors me. As soon as you set your foot on the way, I'll show you my salvation.
This psalm is actually a lot like the opening chapters of Isaiah, or the story that Jesus tells about the separation of the sheep from the goats. It's a judgment psalm where God separates the earth into the wicked and the righteous. These judgment stories are meant to tell us what we're doing wrong and what it is that God truly wants from us. In the opening of the psalm, God calls the heavens and the earth to witness his judgment because they were the original witnesses of the covenant in Deuteronomy chapter 30. And he first calls his people, Israel, to account. It's only after his people are judged that God turns to the rest of the nations. Judgment always starts with the people of God. But for now, let's focus on his judgment on his people because that's us. He has no problem with their acts of worship. They're bringing their sacrifices and attending to the outward acts of worship just fine. But here is where that familiar half of a verse comes into play. God says that he doesn't want their sacrifices. He doesn't want their animals. Why would he need anything from them? He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, or as Eugene Peterson puts it, every creature in the forest is mine, and the wild animals on all of the mountains. The point isn't that our needs will be met. The point is that God doesn't need anything from us. We can supply nothing to him because he is ultimately self-sufficient in a way that doesn't really make sense to us creatures. What he wants instead is integrity, a feast, he says, of kept promises. This year, the normal outward things that make the church have been threatened. We can't meet together like we once did. We can't do outreach the way that we used to. Our services look different. And it's vitally important in times like this to ask, are those the things that God really wants? Now, they're not bad things in and of themselves, but if they're not undergirded by integrity, then God doesn't want them. If the things that have been taken from us this year are all that make us the church, then it is good for them to be put on hold for a while so that we can get back to what it is that God really wants. God bless you as you prayerfully consider this week what he wants from you. And we'll see you Sunday at 10:15 for the live stream or in person.